Also new at noon, 3 people arrested in Holyoke yesterday after police found a handful of drugs. Officers saw 3 people near a dumpster in a parking lot on South Summer Street just after noon. One of them ran away. Police recovered 6 bags of heroin and fentanyl from a woman, then later 22 vials of crack cocaine under the dumpster. Officers then approached a car and saw a crack pipe on the floor. A search of the car led to the discovery of crack cocaine along with heroin and fentanyl and cash. The 3 now face several drug-related charges.